An interesting mechanism that could better define the role of DHEA in sexual performance is that administration of DHEA results in the biosynthesis of active androgens by tissue targets. So in other words, DHEA is going to make you have more sex hormones in the target tissues. Listen, to get the best experience from HRT or TRT or HRT plus for men, usually there's more than TRT. You have these outliers that can that respond perfectly to just TRT. Probably they make an adequate level of DHEA and pregnenolone. The neurosteroid cascades are working relatively okay, and they're not needing that extra testicular support and otherwise hormone support. But for the majority of men, ancillaries really make TRT protocols. Interestingly for me, like, okay, so I could be on TRT and some HCG. These days, it's a lot less HCG than I have previously taken. It's just easier to balance estradiol when HCG isn't like fucking, you're not dosing a lot of it. I run cycles of Proviron here and there. I experimentally use pretty high potency DHT, but generally speaking, it's just testosterone, HCG in minimal doses, but daily DHEA. And the difference in both my libido and erections when DHEA is in the picture versus not is remarkable, like worth remarking over. So what I want to do in this video is break down this post on Excel Mail, Nelson Virgil's forum, and just sort of dive deep into how integral DHEA is in a TRT protocol to make the experience best, but really to facilitate sexual function. Who am I and who are we? Listen, my name is Ryan Michael Ballo. I'm the founder of Cortex Labs, which is a TRT guided sexual dysfunction resolution and performance optimization company specializing in a lot of things like the source list. I built a source of trusted anabolic sources for everything you can think of, including testable esters, high potency DHT, Proviron, everything else for cheaper. You can get that down in the description of this video. My prior history was the neuropharmacology of nootropics. I built one after 15 years of consulting executives on it. It's called Torque. You can get it down in the description of this video. Lastly, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring and TRT protocol redesign, as well as sexual dysfunction. I got one-off calls and ongoing packages. You can hire me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. First of all, I think to get an accurate idea of exactly what we're talking about and the benefit of DHEA, let's look at the neurosteroids. People typically think, oh, DHEA creates some neurosteroids and they modulate GABA activity. It's like a very baseline non-scientific understanding of it, but actually it is very complex. So as ChatGPT populates this, let's fucking check it out. DHEA itself as a base neurosteroid. So DHEA itself is a neurosteroid. It's going to go and build neurosteroids, but at the same time, we're metabolized into neurosteroids. At the same time, it is a neurosteroid. Modulates the GABA-A receptor, the NMDA, the procognitive and anxiolytic at low doses. GABA-A receptor, and what it probably does is like allosterically modify it, which means like it potentiates the effect of GABA at the receptor, and GABA inhibits like other crazy firing. If you've got crazy firing of glutamate as an example, you're going to have fucking anxiety and you're not going to feel good and you're going to overthink and shit. DHEA sort of helps prevent that. So in and of itself, it helps libido by kind of toning down the response from neurotransmitters like glutamate. DHEA sulfate goes on with a longer half-life to be neuroactive at the N-methyl D-aspartate receptors and the sigma-1 receptors, which, by the way, you modify those receptors positively, you have better synaptic transmission in the brain, leading to easier learning, better memory, better cognitive function. Then you got androstenediol. Androstenediol, or 5-androstenediol. The pathway there is 17-beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase converts DHEA into androstenediol. It's a weak estrogenic chemical and an androgenic chemical, but it also has immune and neuroprotective roles. There's a whole paper on the neuroprotective side of DHEA. It's titled Neurosteroids, a Novel Promise for the Treatment of Stroke and Post-Stroke Complications, where they basically go into say like DHEA itself has positive therapeutic significance in some post-stroke complications such as epilepsy, depression, anxiety, and cardiac complications. Boys, the neurosteroids are really fucking important for neuronal health. All right, back to all the things DHEA does in terms of neurosteroids. Also creates androstenedione. That's an androgen precursor, right? It's going to convert to, guess what? DHT. Yep, androstenedione converts to DHT. This is one of the pathways by which DHEA turns into DHT. It also does that more so at target tissues, right? If you want penile tissue to be synthesizing androgens into dihydrotestosterone, which you need for erection maintenance and blood flow and endothelium maintenance, make sure you're taking DHEA. Testosterone, androstenedione also converts to testosterone, which modulates cognition, mood, libido, precursor for neuro-DHT, all right? Brain-borne DHT. Then you got actual DHT, right? From 5-AR, 5-alpha reductase from the testosterone. that the DHEA is creating. Promotes CNS development, myelination, the sort of supporting fibers around, neuronal connections, and may support libido and reward behavior. There's more, dude. 3-alpha androstenediol, positive allosteric modulator of the GABA A receptor. Again, making the effect at the GABA A receptor from GABA more pronounced, which controls anxiety and gives you a better mood. A little bit of estrone, estrogenic neuroprotection and helps cognition. A little bit of estradiol via aromatase, so enhances synaptogenesis, neuroprotection, and libido. And then you got some downstream metabolites like 7-OXO DHEA, 7-alpha hydroxy DHEA, and these all regulate energy, immune responses, enhance memory and immune responses, and have neuroprotective effects. All right, ChatGPT, man, I know you're helping like fucking 5 million other people right now, but I'd really appreciate if you just make the image, man. ChatGPT is like helping 5 million other people at the moment. So on the left, it made two little graphs for me, but on the left is really the visual representation of both the things that convert the enzymes that convert DHEA into various other neurosteroids and the pathways that ultimately make up the conversion to TAS, to DHT, to estrone, estradiol, etc. All right, now let's go to this Excel Mail post. This is by Nelson himself, the founder of excelmail.com. And let's just read this. Several studies have reported decreased serum DHEA sulfate levels in patients with ED. Okay, boner issues, and denoted that decreased secretions of DHEA and DHEA sulfate are an important risk factor for ED in aging men. DHEA levels reached their peak in the third decade of age in men. So we reach our peak in DHEA at like 30, 35, something like that. The serum DHEA sulfate levels were significantly lower in younger patients with ED. So you can totally not peak at 30. You can start dropping DHEA for a variety of reasons when you're younger. Diminished DHEA sulfate levels, and especially within young men with ED, may either be an etiologic factor for ED or a negative consequence of it. However, patients treated with DHEA had a statistically significant increase in all domains of the IIEF, which is like a measure of blood flow and responsiveness to stimulation, electrical frequency, etc., regarding erections. They go, the first clinical effects were reported after 8 weeks of DHEA treatment, and a remarkable improvement in maintaining erections, an erection after 16 weeks, all with negative side effects, with no side effects. Prostate volume, post-void residual prolactin, and PSA were not significantly changed after DHEA therapy. Now, here's a really weird one, man. This is a Reddit thread, boys. It goes, DHEA works, TRT doesn't. Wouldn't clomiphene? No. No. Guy goes, the weirdest thing I know, I can't even explain. I've done every dose of TRT imaginable. I added Pregnal, which is a pharmaceutical grade HCG, got my testosterone levels up to 2200. Yeah, fucking sitting at 22, man. None of it made a crack at my libido. How could that be? And I played with E a bunch, high, low, very little movement in libido. Some people are like this. This is why the ancillaries are so fucking important, boys. However, just a small dose of T, so probably something like 100 milligrams a week, right? So thereby, not creating a bunch of estradiol, having enough TAS and enough DHT, kind of like an optimized natty, which a lot of people are going to find was a good sweet spot on TRT. 30 milligrams DHEA daily. Sex drive is 1,000 times better. This mirrors my experience crazily. On just TRT and HCG, like I'm horny, especially in the morning, and then I'm horny at various points throughout the day. But boy, I am substantially more interested in sex when there's DHEA in the protocol. And I've run protocols without DHEA, and I've run protocols with DHEA. But here's a guy on TRT, and you got his levels up to fucking 2,000, took HCG, the highest potency HCG you can get, which is Pregnal, did a bunch of things with playing with estradiol, and really never could gain libido on TRT. That's because testosterone itself in injection form, because it may not actually facilitate synthesis of androgens at target tissues as much as we might want it to be. This is why, cream could be better for people, because it actually is synthesizing a lot more DHT. Testosterone just wasn't the whole picture. Dude, DHEA plays a number of additional roles, not just on the neurosteroid side, but again, on the biosynthesis of androgens at target tissues. You don't want it to sit in the peripheral circulation and then maybe traveling to muscle tissue. Yeah, sure, that's fucking awesome. Being on T definitely makes you anabolic. You also want it at the target tissues, man, especially at the sexual organs, and DHEA facilitates that. I mean, God, guys, sex drive is 1,000 times better on just a lower T dose, some HCG likely still, 30 milligrams DHEA. That's exactly what I'm taking right now. Yeah, I'm taking TRT. I'm taking a little bit of HCG. At this point, it's like 350 or something. Once every 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. Kind of depends on what's happening with the testicles. But Then I dose 30 milligrams DHEA daily. Fucking makes a difference, bro. In that Excel mail forum, right? In that, like on that forum, on that thread, there's a guy named LIBIDO who says DHEA did several things for me. This is in the context of TRT, by the way, boys. Boosted libido, turned me from a grower into a shower. What? You know, meaning like the look of the male organ like wasn't particularly pronounced prior to, you know, dosing DHEA, but then, you know, when he got erections or whatever. And then it turned him into a place where there was more girth, obviously. Well, what does that indicate? That indicates more blood flow to the organ, which would be facilitated by dihydrotestosterone synthesis in the organ by 5-alpha reductase, boys. Turned on nocturnal and morning erections. Now, here's the crazy part, which had been absent for at least 2 decades, 20 fucking years without morning erections. And then DHEA is added to the TRT protocol, and then morning wood comes back. Boys, like, it's underrated. Mostly cured my stubborn ED. Stubborn ED? Dude, previously I could not get erections unless you used Trimix, Viagra, and Cialis. Trimix, Viagra, and Cialis did not work. That's bad. When you do inject injectable vasodilators into the junk in order to have a fucking erection, that's when you know it's pretty fucking bad. And when PD5 inhibitors don't work, but in this case, mostly fucking cured. Even if I took 3 or 4 after DHEA, I could get erections naturally every day or every other day. Yeah, you want those, man. If you're not having those spontaneous ones, you got to look at your protocol. Everyone is different, but for me, it's been a game changer. It was like a light switch. That is, changes began within a day or two. I take 25 milligrams a day. You don't need to take a lot. I'm at 30. Okay, I've got Douglas Laboratories. I'm going to show you guys real quick. Yeah, this is the stuff right here. DHEA 10 milligrams micronized. You can highly control your dose by getting 10 milligram micronized. Is very, very fine, easily absorbable. DHEA, Douglas Laboratories, is a good one, and it's $20 for, what is this? How many? 100. It's 20 for 100 10 milligram ones. Then you can go, okay, is 20 milligrams a dose? Is 30 milligrams a dose? Is 10 milligrams a dose? Usually going to need to be higher than that. Is 40 milligrams, 50 milligrams a dose? You really never know. 30 though, 30 is a good place to start. Here's the thing, that same guy that said it fixes ED and gave him boners back and dramatically increases libido and said, I would have expected DHEA to have, I would not have expected DHEA to have the effect on me according to my labs. I already had high DHEA levels. So there's something about taking exogenous DHEA, which of course there's something about taking exogenous T, which totally fucking changes things. Even if you hit the levels that you were near naturally, that has a different effect. It has a different effect. So exogenous DHEA, man, honestly, really, really good. Then you got a guy who was on TRT, a stable protocol, but experiencing, you know, lack of morning erections, nocturnal erections, despite no changes to the protocol, which includes 5 milligrams daily Cialis. Labs came back after 6 months, and the only thing that was low was DHEA. Yes, you got to get it back. Even as proven by the other guy, if it isn't low, start taking it anyway. Don't necessarily look at the labs. You know, there's a lot of TRT people that are right in being advocates for not necessarily looking at labs to determine what to do. Sometimes you just fucking need optimization, despite what the labs say. You know, there's such a thing as subclinical whatever. Another one, DHEA has a very positive effect for me, perhaps more so than TRT in the sexual function area. Boys, like, could I make it more clear? Anyway, I just want to make it clear to people that, like, you know, TRT is very rarely like super effective for everything in and of itself. That's why ancillaries exist. Like, that's why the source list is powerful, because you can get every ancillary you need. I know some guys that need to be taking 100 milligrams of Masteron a week and 300 milligrams of Tasip or Tasenethate, like, you know, split up into 2 shots. Then they're dialed in. But without that Masteron, they're just not dialed in. HCG, I mean, I know plenty of guys that, like, when they go off HCG completely, they're fine. They're like great for the first 2 weeks. Well, that's because estrogen's coming down and things are balancing out. But then if they keep it out of the regimen, they get to a point where things are a little meh and a little subpar. So they need a small little infusion, 250, 350, 500 IU of HCG once a week, and that all comes back. Imagine how awesome it would be if you could just dose HCG once a week. That does work for a lot of people, boys. Some guys will do better on, you know, test, HCG, a little bit of DHEA, as well as some transdermal DHT itself just applied to the male organ. That shit gives me crazy boners and crazy libido. So whether it's 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams, 40 or 50, I think the higher you push on DHA above 50 milligrams, the more you might potentially get an increase in estradiol. So again, everything has to be balanced, but find your dose on DHEA it seems to be very synergistic with HCG. So you got to make sure that HCG is in the regimen with testosterone to add DHEA. And that usually is like the added necessary thing. It was the missing element. You know, T and HCG, yeah, pretty okay. Okay, right, great. Add DHEA. Totally dialed in. My job here is to give people information on how to dial in on TRT with very specifics, with literature supporting it as well as anecdotals. You can't just look at the literature. You have to look at the literature and then you got to go back that up. Okay, how is this applying to real men? What changes do they subjectively notice? What were they like on just TRT or just TRT HCG before? What are they now like and what changed positively with the addition of DHEA? And there's fucking a ton of them, right? A ton of anecdotals on that reflecting how positive the experience is. It's underrated. Don't sleep on it. I've done other content about this. So, you know, if you want to go check out some of those older videos that I've done on the necessity for DHEA, I won't go without it again. And I don't suggest you do either, boys. All right, as I said at the beginning, look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization, sexual dysfunction resolution, and TRT guidance company. I mean, that is the bulk of my work. One of the most popular consults we have is the one-off call. It's a 40-minute call with me. I will hear all your situation, fact-find you, and to really get the bottom of exactly what's happening with your TRT protocol. And then I'll architect a new protocol, a protocol that I know will work for you, that is going to be best for you. Everybody's different. You know, people need different stuff. We'll be able to find out exactly what you need, and then I'll draft it, create it on the web on an online document, and it's yours. And you can ride off into the sunset dialed in, because life being dialed in on hormones is much better than life on hormones without being dialed in. If you need to hire me for longer term, long-standing sexual dysfunction specifically, some of that stuff takes time. And if you have the budget and we're going to need multiple protocol iterations and to try this and to try that and to go through a very defined strategy that I've formulated over the years, then hire me for a 1 month, a 3 month, a 6 month, or a 1 year package if you got the budget. For serious individuals, yes, we will fix everything you need to fix. We just need the time. Source list. If you want to go at a lot of this stuff alone, just get source list. It's a digital download that you have instant access to, with access to tests of all esters, various types of and amounts of HCG for far cheaper, dude. I mean, I just got 10 vials again of 5,000 IU HCG for cheaper than 1 vial of Pregnol. I mean, it's crazy. Various sources for Proviron. Mysterolone is like a huge add-on that saves people's TRT protocols. Oral DHT. You want to make your own gel? Get the oral DHT. DHT gel with 2.5% or a 20%. Erectogenic agents, peptides, vetted sources. Anyway, source list down in the description of this video. Lastly, if you want a nootropic that hits. I mean, you can't drink 2-3 Red Bulls and even get the effect of torque. It is different, brother. It hits very hard, and you can find it down in the description of this video. Go buy a bottle. You will thank me when you take this stuff. All right. Brother. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Having a great week. I don't even know what fucking day it is. Hope you're having a great week right now. Like the video. Makes a huge difference. Honestly, boys, I'd be super appreciative if you would just hit the like button. It's free. Takes a second. Means the world to me, man. Do it. Sub to the channel. I'd love to have you a subscriber. We talk about this stuff, HRT, TRT, sexual dysfunction, forever in the time moving forward. Look forward to announcements on my HRT clinic. Yep, we're building one. It's going to be fucking awesome. We're going to have everything. So look forward to that. Otherwise, have a great day. Rock on, kick ass. Chat with you soon. And I'll talk to you boys in the next one.